Hey guys, I'm here today to tell you some of my ideas for Xenoverse 2. And I'm here to tell you my ideas today because a survey has been going around recently for, well, Xenoverse 2. The survey itself was released by Namco Bandai, basically asking us what we thought of Xenoverse 1 and what we want improved to the second game. I have already filled out the survey myself, but I thought it'd be cool to tell you some of my ideas that I would like to see in the next game. So the first thing that I'd like to see in Xenoverse 2 would be a brand new story. And for the story I would like to see, I'd like it to start off from where Xenoverse ended, where everything is peaceful after Demigra has been defeated, and then I'd like to start it with Toa Amira and an army of time breakers of various races, basically starts attacking and destroying Toki City, where all the time patrols are, and basically winning the fight and killing loads of time patrollers and stuff. And then your created character and Trunks fight the time breakers, and Toa Amira, but are outnumbered and realise they can't win. And then Time Patrol Trunks tells you to go back in time to stop time breakers and Toa Amira from attacking, killing basically all the time patrols. And then Time Patrol Trunks sacrifices himself to stop Toa Amira from causing any more destruction. And then you go and find the Supreme Guy of Time, and she sends you back in time to just after the end of Xenoverse, where everything is peaceful, just after you defeat Denver. And then the story goes on where you have to recruit other time patrollers and recruit the Z fighters to help you stop Toa Amira from making an army of time breakers and attacking Toki City. So obviously Toa Amira would come back and go back in time to recruit time breakers, and time breaker Bardock has been seen in Dragon Ball Heroes, so it'd be cool to see him appear. But I would also like to see other time breakers appear that maybe we haven't seen yet. Maybe like Vegeta, Broly, Frieza, people like that. Mostly villains, I'd say. And something else I'd like to see from Dragon Ball Heroes as well would be Super Mira, who was just in one of the trailers for Dragon Ball Heroes. I'd like him to be the final villain at the end. I'd also like to see new time patrollers appear in the story, but as proper characters with personalities where you can actually communicate with them. And maybe some of the time patrollers are killed throughout the game, or they turn evil or something like that, just to give them, character, personality. Also, since it's probably inevitable at this point that Xenoverse 2 will have DLC, one piece of DLC I would like to see would be some backstory on future Trunks and how after, the Cell Saga and he beats Cell in his own timeline and the androids, I'd like to see how he met the Supreme Guy of Time and how he himself became a time patroller and how he started recruiting time patrollers himself and maybe some of his first time patrols. Now the second thing that I'd like to see improved would be custom created characters. And obviously the first thing that I'd like to improve with them would be to have more races. And I don't think there are many races that you could put in the game, but I'd like to see androids appear and Kais. And I would also like to see more transformations, since in the first game only Saiyans really had transformations. There's obviously, Kaioken and Potential Unlocked, but they weren't really transformations. So I would like to see Super Saiyan 3 for Saiyans alongside Super Saiyan 1 and 2 from the first game. But for the other races, I would like to see Giant Nameks for Namekians, Pure Evil Majins for, Majins, which would be like a Kid Buu transformation where you have a skinny Majin instead of the fat Majins like in the first game, which really put me off picking one of them as a character. And for the Frieza race transformations, basically like you could have any of the Frieza transformations. You could have, a big one like the second full Frieza, or an even bigger one for the third transformation. Anything like that really. I'd also like to see if they're able to make a kid in the game with any race, if you wanted to. And also, if you pick a kid, then they grow up throughout the game and end up being an adult at the end. I'd also like to see custom created characters have the ability to do the fusion technique and I'd like to see this done with DBZ characters, you know, like Goku, Vegeta, Piccolo, anyone like that, and with other custom created characters. And I know this is a bit of a long shot, but it'd be cool to see in the game, but I'd understand obviously why this couldn't be in the game when Xenoverse 2 comes out, but you never know. Other things I'd like to see as well would be custom auras for characters, you know, like Super Saiyan has a yellow one, and you know, regular Saiyans usually have blue. I'd like to see you be able to customise them however you want, with different colours and lightning and stuff like that. And a choice of fighting style would be cool as well, with custom throws, because I remember in the first game I would usually be a Saiyan, but I wasn't a fan of the throw. Well, I didn't mind it, but playing through the whole story and all the parallel quests as well, I got a bit tired of it and would like to change it, but I never got the option to. And with the fighting style as well, basically the same thing. It gets a bit repetitive with the same race having the same fighting style. So this would be, bring a bit of originality to each different character. Something else as well I'd like to see would be being able to use equipment in a fight, such as the power pole and swords like Tapion's sword, because it was cool seeing them in the first game, but we never actually got to use them, which is what they're for basically. These equipment aren't really supposed to be worn, they're supposed to be used, which is their purpose, so it'd be cool seeing that in the next game. Something simple I'd also like to see would be tattoos. I haven't really heard anyone else talk about this, but in every other character creation in other games you're able to use tattoos, so I don't see why not. Another thing as well that I've heard people talk about is making your characters speak, because in the first game they didn't really talk, they just, you know, nodded and stuff like that. And if they were able to talk in Xenoverse 2, then I feel like it would add a bit more story and you'd sympathise more with your character. Also, I'd like to see maybe some backstory for created characters, because in the first game we never really saw or heard where they actually came from, they just appeared, so it'd be cool to see where they came from and maybe explore that. And like I said before, skinny Majins, it'd be cool to see them. I said before about being able to transform into a pure evil form like Kid Buu, but I don't see why they couldn't introduce just regular skinny Majins when you create them, so you could look a bit like Super Buu and then transform into Kid Buu. And another thing I'd like to see would be being able to fight your own custom created character, either with another character that you've made or with the regular characters in the game like Goku, Gohan, Cell, people like that. And overall I'd just like to see an improved creation system, because the first game was really good, but it needs to be improved to the second one, otherwise there isn't much point in making the second one. So for the second one I'd like to see, you know, just more options in general, more hair options, more height options, you know, just an improvement basically. Now the next thing that I'd like to see would be an open world. And by open world I mean kind of like how Dragon Ball Online did it, where you could just roam around and do whatever you want really. I'd like to see this because in the first game we were in Toki Toki City, and that was cool, but we didn't really get to explore beyond the city, and we didn't really get to see what the world was like in the future, and we didn't get to see what the world of the time patrol is really like. You know, we didn't get to see what the future is like for Earth, Namek, we didn't get to see any of that. And something else I'd like to see would be being able to explore the other world, like Heaven and Hell, and maybe see some characters that are there. Maybe Goku and Gohan, they're all there, or future Gohan, anyway. Since this is the future Trunks' timeline, we would see all those characters that we saw in the special in Heaven and Hell, including the androids as well. And since it's an open world as well, I'd like to be able to find the Dragon Balls in the open world, because in the first game they were rewards from parallel quests, but it would, I feel, be a much more Dragon Ball-like experience if we could actually find them for ourselves. You could find them in both Earth and Namek as well, and then you got Shenron and Porunga to wish from or for. Now the next thing that I'd like to see in Xenoverse 2 would be improved clothing items. Now in the first game, I really liked the clothes that they gave you, and I liked how many clothes there actually were in the game. I mean, there was a lot of clothes from the actual series that you could wear, but some items that I thought were missing that I'd like to see are Bardock's headband, the red one that he wore, the same tails. You could maybe have them as accessories or as actual part of the character. I'm not sure, either way. Imagine Vegeta's M on his forehead. I'd like to see that being able to put on your own character. Some other things are Whis' staff, Janemba's sword, Deborah's sword, and Patara earrings just to wear on your character. Also, I hope that they don't add clothing stats to the next game, because I felt like that just made everybody wear the same clothes, because some clothes have much better stats than others. For example, I like Piccolo's clothes in the game, in Xenoverse 1, but I rarely wore them because the stats on them were crap, basically. But if there weren't any stats in the next game, then I'd be wearing Piccolo's clothes happily without having any crap stats to use. Also, I'd like you to be able to add emblems to your outfits in the next game. And by emblems, I mean having, like how Goku has, King Kai's emblem on his gi. I'd like you to be able to add your own emblems to your own clothes, maybe depending on who your master is or anything like that. Something else I'd like to see, which I'm surprised wasn't in the first game at all, is having battle damaged clothes. Now usually in DBZ games, this is in every game really. When you get hit by a big beam or blast, your clothes rip. But in this game, you just got small cuts and stuff on you. But in the next game, I'd like to see all clothes be able to rip and tear if you get attacked. And something else I'd like to see, which is quite simple really, is being able to choose the colours of all the clothes. And by that I mean being able to change any single clothing item. You can change the colour of it really. So you could have, a blue Goku outfit, a gold Vegeta one, just change the colour of anything. Now something else I'd like to see, which I think would be quite important, and usually is important with DBZ games, is a bigger character roster. And I'd like to see some what if characters appear as well. Now for the character roster, I'd obviously like characters from Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball GT. I'd like to see movie characters and characters that appear in Dragon Ball Super as well. I'd like to see them add some of the characters that I missed from the first game that are quite important to the story. Some of these are Frieza's second and third form, Cell's first and second form, Base Team Gohan, Android 19, Android 20, Super Boo's absorptions, which are Piccolo, Gotenks and Gohan, Zarbon, Dodoria, Supreme Kai, Kibito Kai, Android 16, Deborah, Oob and Majin Vegeta. I'd also like to see, as I said, what if characters and possibly Dragon Ball Hero characters, which is basically what if characters, such as Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta, Adult Gotenks, Super Saiyan 3 Vegito, and Kid Buu Kibito Kai absorbed. But there's loads of characters from Dragon Ball Heroes to choose from, loads of cool what if characters, and if any of them made it into the game then I'd be pretty happy. And another thing, I'd just like to be able to have playable villains such as Toa, Mira and the Time Breakers. Something else I'd like to see would be having more attacks in the game, because there were some attacks that were missing from the first game that I'd like to see. And I would also like to see them add brand new attacks that weren't in any of the series, weren't in any of the films, nothing like that, so that we have characters that have original attacks. I think that'd be quite cool. And also I'd like to see attacks that involve equipment, like I said before, such as Future Trunks' Shining Sword attack. And something else I'd like to see, which I don't know if it will be in the game because it's quite difficult, would be custom created attacks, which would be making your own attacks from scratch. Because if this was in the game then there'd be so many different attacks, you wouldn't recognise any of them, and it'd be quite cool to have original attacks for our characters. And something small as well would be to change the colour of attacks, so you could have a red Kamehameha if you wanted to, a pink Spirit Bomb, just change the colour of anything that your character uses. Another thing that I'd like to see added to the game would be having the ability to change the time limit of a match. I know a lot of people wanted this option in the first game, so I definitely think they should add it to the next game, because in the first game the time limit was quite short. If I remember correctly, it was always 3 minutes, and if you're having a large battle with 6 people, which would be 3v3, that's just too short. It's not long enough, I don't think. And I'd also like them to have the option to maybe have no time limit, which is usually in the games. Now, something that I'd really like to see would be destructible environments, and I know they weren't really in the first game because the PlayStation 3 version and the Xbox 360 version couldn't really handle that. But if the next game was, you know, PS4, PC and Xbox One only, then I feel like the systems could handle it and they should definitely implement it into the game. With that said, it'd be cool if it was complete destruction, so you could destroy buildings, you know, cars, and completely blow up the environment like in some of the old games like Tenkaichi and Budokai. Yeah, I think that would be pretty cool, and I think it should definitely be in the next game. And the second to last thing that I'd like to see added is quite a small thing really, since there were quite a lot of them in the first game, but I'd like to see more stages in the game. Because even though there were quite a lot in the first game and I was quite happy with that, I'd like to see more added to the second game, and some stages that I thought up that weren't in the first game and I would like to see in the second game are Snake Way, King Kai's planet, Beerus and Whis' planet, the overall tournament, Hell, which is like Janemba's stage where they fought him, Toki City, so actually being able to fight there like kind of how the tutorial was in the first game, inside of Boo like in Budokai 3, Dr. Giro's lab, Glacier, which is in quite a few of the other games, Planet Vegeta, not just in space like in the first game but on the actual planet, New Namek, which is basically like Namek, New Planet Vegeta, which was from the first Broly movie, inside of the Triamite, which is where Goku killed Turles in the Triamite, inside of the Dead Zone, Bojack stage, which is where they fought Bojack and Gohan killed them, inside of Bio Broly lab, which is obviously where the Bio Broly was. I'd like to see the hyperbolic time chamber, but a changing one, like how there was an ice one for Future Trunks when he was in there, and a fire one for Vegeta. Planet Plan I would also like to see, where Bardock went Super Saiyan. The Turtle planet, like in Plan to Eradicate the Saiyans. Inside of the Big A Star, where the original Cooler was, where he was kind of turning into a robot. And lastly, I would like to see Kami's house, which is Master Roshi's house, since that wasn't in the first game. And those are just some of the stages that I thought up of that weren't in the first game, but I'm sure there's plenty more that they could add, but these are just some of the ones I'd like to see. And the very last thing that I would like to see added to the game is beam struggles. And I know a lot of people want this, but and I know the reason it wasn't in the first game is because they wanted to have everything as a real-time event, since, you know, you can have team fights with people fighting all the time. But I thought of a way that I would like to see it put into the next game and how it could be done. And the way I think it could be done is if two people are having a beam struggle together, then other people in the fight can choose to basically get involved or not. And the way they could get involved would be like how Gohan and Goku did the Father Son Kamehameha, how Goku was helping him and they were both doing it together. I think it'd be cool for teammates to be able to do that together. Also, I think it'd be cool to see people on your team being able to fire blasts at the opponent to put him off the beam struggle and to help you with it. And also maybe for your teammates to be able to give you ki to power you up and give you more power to win beam struggle. I think this would be a cool and good way to implement beam struggles, because I think this could be done, and I think it would be a good way to have beam struggles, but being able to join in with them if you want to or not. And I don't see why this couldn't be put into the actual game. So those are all the things that I want to see in the new game when it comes out. And I know there are a lot of things on that list, but that is, I think, everything that I'd like to see. And I know that all of it won't be in the game and most of it won't be, but that is just the stuff that I'd like, and I feel as though a lot of people would like that. And there are other stuff that I would like to see, things like Super Saiyan 4, but I'm pretty sure that won't be in the game because it would just make Saiyans even more OP than they already are, basically. So yeah, that's all that I want to see. Tell me what you would like to see in the comment section below, and I'll put the survey for Xenoverse 2 in the description. So that's it for today, guys. I guess I'll see you later. Bye.